Welcome to another episode of The Nutritional Advantage. I'm your host, Callyn Hahn, once again, and here with me today is one of my amazing guests. We have Sam Vargas, who has been a huge component to the production of the Nutritional Advantage podcast. So Sam, why don't you just kick off and tell us a little bit more about what you do?
My name is Sam. I am a local content creator here in the Charlotte, North Carolina region. I do video production. I do commercial photography production as well. And I help Miss Callyn with this particular podcast. When I started producing the podcast for you, I remember the first one that you did with Melissa, and I found myself extremely intrigued by the information. It was hard to concentrate on the production of it because you guys were dropping so much information that I think a lot of people would benefit from. I wanted to ask you a few things. It kind of opened up my curiosity a bit. How did you even start in this journey?
So originally I had started my health and wellness journey overall with bodybuilding. And that was a door that led me in one direction. And it was just a continuous set of doors walking through where I just had more knowledge presented to me, greater learning opportunities, and then going back to school to become a dietitian once I was inspired by the power of nutrition, and then going through getting my credentials as being a dietitian and getting my clinical hours at Mayo Hospital, that, just exploded my wealth of knowledge on the true power of nutrition.
That's interesting. So, because I used to work with a lot of bodybuilders. So what about bodybuilding in particular kind of changed or molded or helped to start the mold of what you are now?
Absolutely. So bodybuilding was the one thing that created the discipline for me. So the discipline to stick to a plan and to truly execute goals in terms of physique manipulation. So by that meaning weight loss or building muscle and learning your metabolism and learning your body. However, the first initial plan that I was put on for bodybuilding, I was highly sensitive to half of the quote health foods that were on there.
Interesting.
So I actually almost felt better before I started my journey eating pizza and ice cream and, all the junk food that I ate, all the fast food restaurants. I felt better eating those foods versus eating chicken and oats, celery, peanut butter. I was highly sensitive to all of those foods. So in the process of bodybuilding, it was easy for me to cut weight because I was simply eating less calories. But at the same time, I didn't feel great in the process. My recovery was extremely slow. So there was a lot of things that were counterintuitive to me getting my results. So my coach had me doing 70 to 90 minutes of cardio in order to cut weight because I was fighting all of those inflammatory markers. So my curiosity, seeing all the other athletes I was competing against, made it look so simple. How were they cutting weight so fast when they were executing a plan that was quite similar to mine? So I started thinking a little bit more, and that's what truly intrigued me on the food sensitivities, finding out about your micronutrient deficiencies, and expanding more on hormone stabilization. Figuring out certain key components of the body that needed to take me to the next level. When I went on that journey of just simply learning my inefficiencies and learning my personal challenges that I had to overcome, that is what inspired me to go back to school to be a dietitian. Going back to school, I just ended up, using the simple credentials necessary to obtain that license. Furthermore, we had to do clinical hours. So my clinical hours were done at Mayo Hospital. There was just a lot of resources available, and not only dissecting other brains of the other doctors that were there and understanding, how they came to the conclusions, but at the same time of understanding that everything is figure outable and if you embark on a medical scenario, you can find the answer. You just need to have the right data. You need to ask the right questions, and you need to have the right set of knowledge in order to get you from point A to point B. And with a lot of my autoimmune patients, that's where I have the highest success rate. Just from the mere standpoint, I have the most experience with autoimmune scenarios. And for me, if I have a general wealth of knowledge on the client when they first get started, blood work, sensitivity analysis, on top of that, a health history of what's worked for them in the past and what hasn't, and where their struggles may lie, generally I can get their symptoms recessed within a week, 2 weeks.
Let's backtrack to the autoimmune patients. For those listening that don't know what that means, what is an autoimmune patient? And why do you think those are amongst the most popular of the patients that you are seeing now?
Absolutely. So autoimmune symptoms are general. It could be GI distress. It could be mental disorders. It could be physical inflammatory markers, just physical joint pain. Rheumatoid arthritis would be an example of that. So there's different types of forms of autoimmune scenarios, but a lot of it is just debilitating distress to the body, symptoms that people don't want to live with every single day.
You mentioned mental as well.
Absolutely.
So mental health also has an effect on...
Absolutely. So anxiety, depression, negative self-thoughts, severe mood swings. There's a lot of people that are considered ADHD and need medication, or bipolar, they need medication. All of that can be solved with the right nutrition. And when you have the wrong foods that are entering your body, it causes all of that anxiety and distress. And that is basically, so foods technically have two routes with you. You're either going to eat foods that are going to fuel your ability to thrive, or you're going to have foods that fuel your sickness. So whether it's a mental illness, whether it is a physical illness, if you are eating the wrong foods for your body, like I said in bodybuilding, when I was eating what everyone would have taught me was completely healthy, oats, chicken, peanut butter, some of the most common health foods out there, they were destroying my mental health. So foods didn't really affect me that much physically, other than slow recovery. I just, had a little bit of brain fog. I was tired all the time. I just really didn't feel good. But then at the same time, a lot of people didn't know what was going on in my head. I had a lot of negative self-thoughts. I had body dysmorphia. I didn't like the way I looked in the mirror, even though I was in the best shape of my life. There was a lot of mental anxiety that I had that was attributed, and even moving forward to this day, if I have foods that I'm sensitive to and high levels of them, my headspace is not in a great place.
And this is a very common thing right now.
Absolutely.
Especially with the rise of mental health.
Yeah.
And I have a couple of therapist friends, and they were very adamant about mentioning that during the pandemic and after the pandemic, it spiked, to a very alarming amount. So do you think that has a lot to do with why you see so many of these particular patients?
Absolutely. And a lot of things that I noticed, remember when I said, like, when I was eating junk food, I felt better than when I had started eating health foods. So you see this quite often where people get on the bandwagon of vegetables equal weight loss, or these certain foods, I need high protein in order to thrive. So they'll jump on these certain wagons, and if it's not designed for your body, I know several clients that I have can't tolerate high protein. They're on a low protein diet and they're absolutely thriving. Yeah. And there's some with, fructose sensitivity. They can't have too much natural sugars running through their blood. Same thing with vegetable toxicity, inefficiency with grains. There's so many different classifications where people can truly have an adverse response to what they may believe is a quote health food. And that's the message that we try to get out to everybody, is the true power of custom nutrition is eating foods that are designed for your body.
There isn't just a one solution for everyone. You have to literally customize everything for everyone that you encounter, correct?
Absolutely.
How do you do that?
So I'm going to use an example, one of my autoimmune cases. She was an alpha-gal patient. So alpha-gal is a red meat allergy. So she initially came to me knowing that she had a red meat allergy, but there was still a lot of complications that we had to work out. So in the process of working with her for the 3 months that we were in the program together, we had found out so many discoveries about her body. One being she only responded to high vitamin K foods.
Interesting.
At the same time, she was inefficient to vegetables and grains, and she also had a red meat allergy. So she responded best to white, lean meats, and she responded well to fruits and any other food that was classified as high vitamin K. That's what her food arsenal ended up being in the end, where she felt absolutely incredible.
How long did it take you to figure that out, you both?
So the first step, I mean, we already figured out the protein pretty quick. That was an easy one. From the grain and vegetable inefficiencies, that was about 2 weeks later, where we had eliminated it, and she felt really, really good.
That's fast.
Now we had a little bit of I feel really good, but I don't feel that level 1000 amazing yet. So that's when we started tweaking and tailoring and using like certain types of foods, researching them, seeing what she felt the best on. So that was probably another couple of weeks
That's
after
amazing.
that before we pinpointed it specifically to be vitamin K.
That's amazing that you can do that. Do you ever find yourself being called into like the medical field? Are you ever called into, say, a hospital setting, or are you referred by maybe general practice physicians? Maybe medicine's not working out. Does that ever happen to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I get called into Atrium Health in the hospital here quite often
Cool.
on specific medical cases. So if a patient has been in the hospital for quite some time and they can't figure it out, I will be one of the experts that they call forth to help out with the specific case that they have. So it could be anything from a collaboration with certain doctors. They could take the case completely over to my roster and I just take over. So there's a lot of different scenarios where I still work with the hospitals. I don't like to work in the hospital because I do like the freedom of being able to own my own practice. But at the same time, I'm here to help everyone.
That's amazing. That's
the biggest reason why I went down this road is I wanted to use my knowledge to just make people's lives better.
Mm-hmm. You have a lot going on. I follow you on social media. I work with you from time to time with some of your production. Talk to me a little bit about Callyn Enterprises that just launched, which congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
What does it all entail?
So Callyn Hahn Enterprises does, as you just said, we got a lot going on.
Yeah, you do.
So we are anything from registered dietitians. We have lifestyle coaching. We have course content where we are going to be pumping out courses to further educate a larger scale of individuals.
That's cool.
We will be guest speakers at certain seminars. There's a lot going on. We will be adding to the team this next year with other coaches from different demographics. So it won't just be lifestyle and nutrition. We're going to expand a little bit more to mindset elevation, maybe business development. So there's some other things that we're entertaining there. But our current programs are going to range from either custom nutrition all the way up to a luxe destination vacation package.
That's amazing.
So we do travel a lot with our clients and do fun international domestic trips. We do have several planned for this next year. So it's a little way for us to get away, be able to transform someone's life and truly just enjoy that next level elevation with them all at the same time.
You're obviously very passionate about this. Does the satisfaction of helping other people, is that what keeps you going? Is that what keeps Callyn going? Is that the it factor for you?
Actually, it's not.
It's not.
It's the person who doesn't believe in the power of nutrition. I feel the urge inside. But it's like,
you got that competitive nature.
I gotta get you.
I love that.
So I truly do. I mean, when we have breakthroughs and those aha moments with all of our clients, like it is absolutely, a very rewarding experience. But when you find that person who's like, yeah, I know my nutrition, like I think I'm good. And then a year later, they come back to you, and then you really change their life. You change their significant other's life. You change their kid's life, and you literally make that ripple effect with their family. That's the rewarding part for me.
That's amazing. Something I like to ask other entrepreneurs and just like-minded people is specifically in your niche. What's one of the best pieces of advice you can give someone who is listening to this and maybe wondering if they should give Miss Callyn a call? Maybe they're not so sure about their own nutrition goals. They're not hitting their own goals. They're just not seeing any progress with what they're doing. What's one of the best nutritional advices you could give? It could be nutritional or lifestyle based.
In terms of the lifestyle, there's always more you can learn. Whether it is in business, whether it is in your personal relationships, whether it's, a form of psychology, how can you have better relationships with your friends, with your family? How can you have a better relationship with food? All of it comes full circle of pursuing that knowledge to elevate your mindset from a standpoint of having healthy relationships all across the board. Like, that is a huge, huge component of Callyn Hahn Enterprises. Is we do check-ins with all of our employees to make sure that everyone's headspace is in a great place so that they can further serve the next individuals. So anybody looking to, make a transformation, that's where it starts. Mm-hmm. You have to continue that pursuit of knowledge in all different platforms. And then from there, if you feel like you are at a state of, I feel content or I feel lost, you got to ask yourself, what's next? So any clients that get done with program 1, I always ask them at the very end, what's next for you? Awesome. We got to come up with some new goals. We already crushed the first goals. We need to conquer these next ones, because when you have someone zoned in on specific goals and achieving things they never thought they could do before, it's so rewarding. And that's where people find happiness, is truly taking things that they never thought they could do, conquering them, and then saying, what's next? What is that next phase?
Amen. I'm always looking for the next thing.
Absolutely.
All the time.
Well, for you, working out, tell us a little more about that.
Oh, gosh. I'm trying. So what got me into my current profession, I was a fitness coach. I had purchased a camera to do YouTube fitness tutorials and exercises and stuff like that. So I was in tip-top shape. This is before I owned my own business. So I had all the time in the world to eat the right foods, work out 6-7 times a week, and, be in the gym 90 minutes at a time. So it was I was training like an athlete, so to speak. Started my business 6 years ago. So imagine 6 years of inconsistency, dehydrating myself, lots of processed foods and fast foods, not really paying attention to the foods I was eating. So not only was I eating bad, but I was also eating the wrong foods, thinking that I was eating enough. So not eating enough calories. And I wasn't active. I was never active. The only activity I was getting were on my shoots. But 80% of the day, I'm sitting at a desk, editing emails, stuff like that. So a few months ago, I decided to take action. I'm down 24 pounds now.
Very nice.
Thank you. Slowly, I've been noticing body fat's been going down. Energy levels are high. I don't find myself with a lack of energy when I wake up. When I wake up, I'm up. That didn't happen beforehand. Just everything is like upgrading again, so to speak. I feel lighter on my feet, more energy throughout the day. It's also made me very conscientious about what I'm putting in my body throughout the day. I was big on caffeine. I was doing 4 or 5 cups a day. Now I do maybe 1 or 2 espresso drinks a day, if that. And I cut it off at a certain time. That way I'm in bed at a decent time. I've prioritized sleep. Now I know I need to fine tune things with my nutrition. because I do notice when I eat certain things or when I combine certain things, I feel horrible. For that reason, I think the other day I was asking you, hey, is there something, is there a terminology that you put with when you mix gluten with dairy? And you said it was
cross reactors.
And I'm like, that right there, because I can eat gluten all day and be fine. I can have dairy all day and be fine. But when I combine the both, it's horrible.
Absolutely.
It's like a disease is what it feels like.
So there's a magnitude of pillars that we have to look at in terms of nutrition. So first and foremost is just cleaning up your diet, eating less processed foods, just getting to the point where you're like, okay, I'm eating whole foods now. I am, eating something pretty structured. And when most people get there, exactly what you're doing now, you got to ask yourself, what's next? Okay, what else can I learn? Then food sensitivities come to the forefront of, most people finding that first line of data. How can I start with food sensitivities, and then what's next after that? Next is generally working with a dietitian to learn your food inefficiencies. At the same time, you also have to realize the more advanced stuff, and I've had several autoimmune scenarios where cross reactors were so detrimental to their health every single day. It was causing them extreme GI distress. And they're like, hey, we are staying away from all of our sensitivities. We, don't quite know what our food inefficiencies are, but we have done all these eliminations. We have been to the point where we have been so restricted on foods that we're almost starving ourselves. And, every time that we eat, we just don't feel good. So there are certain things, and I'm going to use as an example, carrots and kiwi. So if you eat carrots and kiwi together, so say if you go to the holidays and you have a fruit tray and a veggie tray, and there just happens to be carrots on the veggie tray and kiwis on the fruit tray, generally for most humans, those eaten together in the same time, it can cause a toxicity to the body.
No way. What?
So that right there, you can almost have like a heavy metal toxicity symptoms. You can almost have a food allergy symptom. So this was something that I actually personally experienced myself. I just went to I live above a Whole Foods. I went to the grocery store. For some reason, kiwi and carrots just sounded great. And I ended up going through almost anaphylactic shock after eating those two. And I've eaten them my entire life, but I've never eaten them together. So I immediately go to the hospital and my wheels are turning. I am like, I need to figure this out.
Right.
Like nothing in my diet had changed other than those two specific foods. And so I ended up getting my blood work back. There was nothing wrong with me. I regularly get my blood work done. So I always address, my health 100%. So I was, evaluating what I had changed in my dietary scenario in my grocery list. And so I further ended up becoming an expert on cross reactors because of that.
Because of that.
Yep.
Wow.
When I found out, and that's been a game changer with my business and, how I handle different check-ins with clients we can't figure out.
I can imagine.
Cross reactors take things to the next level.
Interesting. So, okay. So my last question, because we're coming up on time. My apologies. I talk too much. So someone like myself, where I find myself at a stopping point, what do I do to acquire your services? What's the step? What are the steps?
So general consultation is what we always recommend first. So we have a team that handles all the consultations for Callyn Hahn Enterprises. They always like to hear what are your goals? What is the next phase for you? How interested are you taking things truly to the next level? Because we want to make sure that we are a right fit as well. And for me, a rewarding aspect is someone who is on that upward elevation. So as long as your mindset is in alignment with that, it starts with a consultation, us just learning more about you. If we are a right fit, then they will talk to you about the programs that we do offer, and they will make those recommendations. To work one-on-one, doing custom nutrition with me. We do offer fitness programs as well. So, cool. There's a lot of add-on services that can truly elevate your experience with us. And then one of my favorites are the photo shoots.
Yes.
So for people who don't have any physical goals, or they really can't find an attainable goal, doing family photos or doing a personal photo shoot is something that is showcased with Callyn Hahn Enterprises, because it allows people to see themselves from a completely different perspective when you have them showcase a photo shoot at the end of their transformation. So when they look at those photos, they're like, wow, that's me. This is
amazing.
who I've become in 3 months. Who else can I become in another 3 months or 6 months or a year? So it kind of inspires them to continue the journey for the either next photo shoot or the next goal. You know, I had one that started with a photo shoot and now they're doing an Ironman competition.
That's awesome.
So, you know, it's crazy. Another gal did a photo shoot and now she's doing a bodybuilding competition. So sometimes when you see that, you know, overall confidence shine through that first photo shoot right there, we know we've got them.
And you have clients all over the country, right?
Yes.
You don't.
Yeah. So internationally, domestically.
Oh wow, internationally too.
Yeah. So right now we have a lot of medical patients from Canada.
Awesome. Wow.
So the crazy part is they have access to better foods in Canada.
They sure do.
There's not a whole lot of preservatives. It's just better quality, better health protocols with food processing in Canada. So their health scenarios are food specific, and that is generally cross reactors or foods that they're sensitive or allergic to.
Perfect for you.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, absolutely. I love my Canadians.
That's awesome. I know we ran out of time. I could sit here and talk to you forever. This stuff is so fascinating and it's so important. You know, I personally, if I could speak for myself, I personally find that too many of us, especially in this country, rely on medicine a little too much. And, you know, I was listening to a quote the other day that if you don't treat your food like medicine in your early ages or just now, then you're going to have to actually take medicine as food. And that hit me so hard. Because, you know, there's stuff that you can't really do anything about, you know, stuff that's genetic, you know, stuff happens all the time, but there's so much that you can do and so much you can prevent with food that I'm finding out on my own. I haven't even acquired your services yet, but I know that for a fact. But thank you for having me on here and getting to talk to you a little bit one-on-one. It was awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Nutritional Advantage podcast.
Absolutely.
It was a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Definitely, we will visit more afterwards about your dietary scenario, about your goals, all the things.
Awesome.
But we do look forward to another podcast in the future.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.